The Fairy Flag. Do you want to see a real fairy flag? Then you must go to the Isle of Skye, where the ancient castle of Dunvegan is washed on 3 sides by the cold grey sea. For hundreds of years, this castle has been the home of clan chieftains, the MacLeods of MacLeod. The clan has many treasures, but the one they prize above all others is a strip of pale yellow silk. It is as delicate as the wings of a butterfly, and is marked here and there with the faint red spots which only elves can make. This fairy flag has belonged to the clan MacLeod since a night far in the past when a baby chieftain was born. There was great rejoicing on the island, and so many bonfires blazed on the hilltops that the people of neighbouring isles thought the Isle of Skye was on fire. Inside the castle, the clansmen gathered to celebrate the birth with feasting and dancing. The skirling of the pipes resounded through the night, and the music was so loud that it could be heard even in a little turret room right at the top of a long spiral staircase. Here, Morag, the old nurse, sat rocking a wooden cradle as she tried to settle the restless baby. "What a din," she grumbled. "What chance has the wee bairn to sleep with all this racket?" Suddenly, her young niece Janet slipped into the room. "Oh, Auntie," she whispered, "it's so exciting. You must go down and take a peek yourself." Morag was horrified. "What?" she chided. "Leave the heir to MacLeod alone and unprotected?" But Janet was determined. "The baby won't be left alone. I'll sit and watch him while you're gone." Old Morag hesitated. "Well," she said, "I might not live to see another night such as this. But call me if the baby wakes. Call me at once." Janet sat obediently rocking the cradle gently to and fro and tapping her foot to the rhythm of the music. She did not notice when the warm woolen shawl, which Morag had carefully draped over the cradle, slipped to the stone floor. In the chill autumn air, the baby began to cry, and Janet could not soothe him. The baby's crying grew louder until Janet hurried to the door and called down the spiral staircase for Morag to return. But the music drowned her voice. Leaving the door ajar, she ran down the staircase to look for the old nurse. At that very moment, a fairy woman and her friend, who were hurrying past the castle, heard the crying and paused for a moment. "Do you hear that?" asked the fairy woman crossly. "The young heir to MacLeod cries, and no one attends to him." She glanced up at the turret room, and her sharp eyes fixed on the tiny lancet window. "Look, there's just enough room for me to squeeze through. You can wait on the window ledge." With that, the two flew up to the window and peered in. They saw immediately that there was no shawl draped over the cradle. "Poor wee thing," cried the fairy woman. "There's a sharp, cold wind blowing in from the loch, but I've the very thing to keep him warm." With that, she wriggled into the room and darted across to the cradle. Unwinding a strip of yellow silk from around her waist, she gently picked up the baby and wrapped it around him. "But that's our fairy banner," cried the other from the window ledge. "Fiddlesticks! We can easily weave another. Be quiet now, while I sing him to sleep." Then, rocking the cradle with her foot, she sang. "My magic spell now gently falls upon Dunvegan's ancient walls. This is for you at witching hour, for in this flag is magic power. Sweetly sleep and do not cry, la 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 lullaby." As the last note faded away, old Morag returned to the room. "Mercy me," she gasped. Who are you?" She noted the fairy's shaggy cloak and pointed hat, her green dress and shoes as purple as the heather. Then, with a twinge of fear, She caught sight of the strip of yellow silk wrapped around the sleeping baby. She stepped forward to tear it away, but the fairy woman stopped her. "No, Morag," she said. "The flag will not harm him. It is warmer than the stoutest blanket, and more than that, it will keep him safe from any harm." Morag listened breathlessly as the fairy told her of its magic power. "This flag will save the heir to MacLeod in times of terrible danger. But be warned, it must be used sparingly. 3 times the flag can be waved. Then the fairies will claim it back." The fairy woman moved silently to the window and repeated, "3 times only. Remember, Morag, to tell MacLeod of MacLeod what the fairy woman said." She was about to leave when Morag cried, "And the lullaby. Won't you teach me the lullaby?" "I will, Morag," said the fairy, "and it will never fail to make the baby sleep." Then the fairy sang the lullaby one more time before disappearing into the night. For a moment, Morag stood staring out after her, but all she could see was the moon, and all she could hear was the skirling of the pipes below her. "Come, bonny wee ear," she said, tenderly lifting the baby in her arms. "Now your proud mother and father and all your fine kinsmen must see what the fairy woman has given you." The clansmen marvelled when they heard Morag's story. Then the clan chieftain, MacLeod of MacLeod, held up his wee son for all to admire and vowed that the fairy flag would be treasured above everything else in the castle. It was a treasure indeed, for the fairy's prophecy did come true. Many years later, in the 15th century, the castle of Dunvegan was attacked by fierce warriors who invaded Skye from the outer isles. The MacLeods were vastly outnumbered, and it seemed certain they would all be killed. At the last moment, their handsome young chieftain remembered the legend. "Bring out the fairy flag," he thundered. "It's our only hope." As the flag was waved from the battlements, a mysterious band of warriors charged from the castle gate. They brandished their huge swords with a terrifying noise, and the fierce invaders ran desperately for their lives. But not one managed to escape. Then, leaving the MacLeods safe and victorious, the warriors disappeared into thin air. 100 years later, the castle was attacked again, at night, under cover of a thick mist which swirled in from the sea. The MacLeods fought back valiantly, but again they were almost overwhelmed when the chieftain called for the magic flag. Then the grey mist changed into row upon row of warriors who fought like demons to win a stunning victory. But when the young chieftain MacLeod of MacLeod stepped forward to greet them, they vanished back into the mist. Twice the flag has been raised. Once more it can reveal its magic power. So to this very day, the fairy flag is treasured at old Dunvegan, while in their secret nooks and crannies, the fairies wait patiently for its return.